Hello, it's been a while. So much to talk about. I think first and foremost, um, this entire year, I know we've talked about this before, but it's really important to keep this big timeline of this year in perspective, to understand where we are now, to be able to move forward effectively, to keep everything in perspective. This entire year has been one of stop and start and feeling a lot of frustration for being able to move forward, or rather for not being able to move forward. And then other times of this year have been moving on really steadily. We're in this time period, and in fact we have been in this time period for the last couple of weeks. I've been meaning to make a video about it, but we, especially now and over the course of the next several weeks, are in this time period of needing to be patient, having delays as per communication, as per maybe situations with relationships. It's a time where there can be a lot of frustration. There's also great things about all these energies, as always, but I think the challenges are kind of the pitfall that's in front of us that we need to jump over or get around. We need to consciously be aware of, so then we can make the most of these energies. Because as always, there's always challenges and there's always great gifts being offered. But I think it's very easy right now to fall into the pitfalls of this time. So we're going to analyze this from four different main perspectives of what these challenges are that are really good to keep in mind. So first, Mercury and Mars are in Virgo opposite Neptune. Again, there's no such thing as bad energy. All these energies are great in their own way. But this combination of energies can make it very difficult to keep things in perspective. I've been struggling with this a lot myself, of focusing on the little details, feeling maybe overwhelmed by all the work that you have to do, and feeling like you're getting overwhelmed also by the big picture of how am I supposed to do this? It could be a self-doubt thing. Am I good enough? Or is it a doubting of, do I have the time and energy to do this? Can I learn what's necessary to be able to get it to happen, etc.? The reason why this is challenging, there's two main reasons. First, Mercury and Mars opposite Neptune. Again, there's great things about this. We'll get into that. But the big challenge here is for us to give up before we even start, to feel like it's difficult to feel like we have clarity necessarily at this time. It's possible, but again, it's especially possible when we're mindful of this challenge, and then we can seek to amplify that clarity. But even being mindful about it, there's a certain element of not seeing necessarily the big picture right now, or feeling like could be a feeling of, again, self-defeating, Mars opposite Neptune, a feeling of, no matter how much I do, I'm not reaching that goal, I'm not getting this done, etc., etc. So I think the big thing here, the big solution here, is just to stay patient and keep following through with the work. Because I think this really could go for any realm of life. But I think a big focal point here is as per actions, and generally actions have to do with career. But there's other elements to this too, as per like anger management and whatnot. We'll cover that in a moment. But I think, again, most people are going to be experiencing, when it comes to career, feeling like they can't move ahead, they cannot get it together. And in some way or another, even if things are going good, maybe you want to move on to that next step and level up, but it's tricky or whatever. So again, the key really here is to just keep plugging ahead. And that's the great gift, and also there's a certain challenge with Mercury and Mars being conjunct at this time. The great gift is focus on those details. We're able to focus on those details incredibly. We're able to look at all the different tangible things that need to be in place for everything to click. I always think of it as like a clock, right? There's all these cogs and whatnot. So we have to put forth this effort and put forth that effort. Oh, I need that bit of information. We're really able to learn at this time. We're very able to do work with our minds in our hands and progress tremendously. But again, it can feel like we're getting nowhere. It feels like a hamster wheel sometimes with these kind of energies, just because of the general perspective or lack thereof with this Neptune opposite Mercury and Mars. And again, from personal experience, I've been feeling this. It's like, oh, I have so much music to make, and am I doing it well enough? Am I playing the drums well enough? Am I doing, et cetera, et cetera? And I just knew, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the answer to those questions for the big picture, right? Same with the book. It's like, oh my God, I'm still not done with it. And I've just come to terms with this over the last couple of weeks of like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to these questions. When is it going to be done? I don't know. I'm just going to do my best. And when God inspires me, there's a big element to that. I mean, during any time in life, but especially during this time, because Neptune is all about letting go of control. And that's the challenge, because Mercury and Mars conjunct, especially in Virgo, is all about let me control every little detail of my life. So this goes for everything in life. This is just where our minds are at. And of course, a big focus is on career, but it can go for everything. And there's a certain element where we just have to let go and let God, where we just have to recognize that it's our ego and or our mind that thinks that we're in control of things. And that we just need to have faith. We just need to let go of all the details. I mean, not let go of all the details. Like, again, we're focused on detail work at this time, but we need to let go of, is this good enough? Is this fitting into the big picture, etc. As long as we're being mindful of, okay, does this make sense for me to do? Okay, cool, then great. In this moment right here and right now, this is what I'm going to focus on. The day ahead of me, right? Let's simplify. Virgo and Earth energy in general, it wants to know what's happening right here, right now, what's happening in the very near future that you can see, and that's it. Nothing beyond that. It gets stressed out when it goes beyond that, because it's Earth energy, especially Virgo, is best right here, right now. And Virgo's all the little tiny details right here, right now. So I've personally been mindful of this, and I've just been letting go and letting God. And then all of a sudden I started editing the book. I edited it like 4 times, and I feel it. I'm entering into my secondary writing season of the year, and it's like, cool, I'm up for it again. I never edit and write in the summer, and I knew that, but I still was kind of overthinking it a bit because of these energies. And again, this is something for all of us to keep in mind. It's so easy to overthink at this time, but we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, and so it's like, oh, cool, and I'm excited about it, and that's when I know it's like, cool, I'm not controlling it, it's just God, it's flowing, it's just energy, it's good, all right, cool. And then with music, with some of my bandmates, I presented some work that I had been doing for the songs that we've been writing, and I cover a lot of different elements, the drums, the bass, guitar, lead guitar, helping with lyrics, production, mixing, mastering, engineering. So I presented some of the drum work and bass work, and it wasn't finished. It wasn't it wasn't to a place where I'm like, yes, this is fantastic, I'm good with this. But it was important to show because it helped to move things to the next step. And I got very positive feedback, and I was a little surprised, and I was even like, it's still not quite there, but okay, you get the gist of it. Okay, cool. So my point with all of this, again, like just drawing a parallel from my life to yours and to everybody else's in the world right now, just do your best. Just do your best, show up, do the work, let go of trying to figure everything out of like what exactly or how exactly or whatever. As long as you know your why, like, why am I doing this? Because it feels good, this is right for me. Okay, cool, that's what's important. Don't beat yourself up about maybe not reaching particular goals at this time, because Mars opposite Neptune is things can be a bit nebulous when it comes to our actions. So again, as long as we're still doing our best with what makes sense right here, right now, it's all good. The delays part of all this. I just want to say one last thing. So with Mercury opposite Neptune, again, a lot of that is that clarity or lack thereof, rather, and just letting go of control. But I think that's really important to focus on also, because we're about to enter Mercury retrograde within the next couple of days. I can't remember the exact day, which is very pre-Mercury retrograde. We've had pre-Mercury retrograde this entire month. So what does that mean? It just means that Mercury in its orbit in relation to Earth's orbit has been slowing down. So we start to get these effects of maybe miscommunication or misunderstanding or technological. I blew out a speaker on my laptop through humidity. I didn't even know that was possible recently. It's like, okay, right, these things happen when Mercury is even in its pre-retrograde period, and it's adding onto the Venus retrograde that we've been in for, I don't know the exact date for that either. It's been several weeks. I think it's been all month. It's been a while, and it's going to go on until basically September 2nd or whatever. But this video is to be mindful of where we've been, to understand a little bit of where we're coming from, and if you've been feeling a lot of frustration, a lot of mental anguish, and a lot of anxiety or overthinking, like I have, it's very natural. Mercury has been conjunct Mars. But again, to be free of that, to be mindful of it, to move forward. And also to understand that September, even though Venus will be direct, and we'll talk about what Venus retrograde right now means, because that's a big part of the overthinking and frustration perhaps. But Venus goes direct September 2nd, I believe. But it's the post-shadow period is going all the rest of September. And then we have Mercury retrograde in a couple days, and then that is existing until I think like mid-September or September 10th. We'll cover it as we go. But then the post-shadow period is the rest of September. So long story short, be patient. First of all, because you don't have a choice. We all don't have a choice at this time, These energies, again, it's part of this year, and I think that's really helpful to keep in perspective, because you go through one time period, like say January, when Mercury is retrograde and Mars is retrograde, and you're like, I gotta be patient. Okay, we make it through well enough. Okay, things are slowing down. Okay, March. Okay, later March, cool. We're moving forward. Fantastic. Jupiter's in Aries. Bam, bam, bam. May comes around. Mercury's retrograde again. The Mercury retrogrades of this year have been hitting pretty hard because they've been in conjunction, not literally in conjunction, but they've been alongside other things that have also been challenging. So Mercury was retrograde. While Jupiter was moving into Taurus, and it was all along with Uranus and Taurus. So what does that mean? It's like, again, this, like, slow down, be patient. Other energies are saying speed up, go. Here we are again. Mercury's conjunct Mars, has been for the last several weeks, but we're about to hit a Mercury retrograde season, so it's going to get even more so this I think for the next week or so. So much, to be fair, it'll get easier in certain ways, but other elements will also be at play. My point is this: patience, expect delays, expect things to get in the way, expect obstructions. If you just understand that this is, first of all, unavoidable, these things happen. Second of all, there's a great gift here. Slowing down allows us to revisit things. We've been revisiting relationships a lot for the last maybe 3 weeks to a month, something like that, since Venus has been retrograde. I think about a month, something like that. And it's good. We maybe forget to reach out to certain loved ones, certain people. Otherwise, maybe there's an opportunity available, but you forgot about that person, and so now we've been focused on like reconnecting with loved ones, also working out challenges in relationships. Even when relationships are overall good, this kind of time period is really taking stock of like, okay, to move forward, what do we need to change? What do we need to let go of individually as per our behaviors, assumptions, whatever it may be. So it's nice to slow down, and I always think of it as like this: is energies in general is very focused on the present. Depends on the energy. A lot of energies are also focused on the future. And I guess some energies are focused on the past. But when we have a retrograde, especially multiple retrogrades, even with the post-shadow period of Venus, again, Venus retrograde post-shadow is going to exist all of September. So just think of September as retrograde month. We're already in the retrograde month also. It's a 2-month, 2-for-1 thing here going on. But with Mercury being retrograde, yeah, it's the delays are continuing. And it's not bad. A lot of people think that certain energies are bad, and they're not at all. I always think of it as we get to look back at the past. We get to revisit things. So, for example, with editing, it's like, yeah, I think I'm going to get a lot of editing done during that time period. And for all of us, communicating with people from our past, that's going to be a focus. Necessary communications, not just idle communications, but necessary to be able to move forward. So that's, also relearning things or learning more about things that we've already visited. That's going to be a big focus. That's one of the great positives about where we've been for the last couple of weeks and where we're going to be for basically all of September, as well as where we are, in between here and there, is Mercury is trine, has been and will be trine Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. What does this mean? It means that we're able to make a lot of practical progress and exponentially so too. Jupiter and Uranus both are some of the fastest, like I would say equal to Mars also. All three of those astronomical bodies are all about action, movement, jumping forward, leaping forward by leaps and bounds, exponential growth, and happening very quickly, and also in a sense of evolution, in a sense of leveling up in a very powerful way. So to make the most of this, to make sure it's lasting growth and not just a temporary flash in the pan thing, we need to really kind of go back to school in a way. No, not literally, I mean, some people, I guess, but for all of us, we need to learn. This time period has been great for learning. When Mercury goes retrograde, learning, relearning, that's a big focus. It's not necessarily taking on new things. Again, it's going to be more so like delving into what we've already delved into at a deeper level. So that's a good question for all of us to ask, is what can I learn in a more formal way? Like, what skills or knowledge do I need? But also just from life in general, what do I need to learn? And a big focus for Virgo, in addition to what we just said, has to do with the mind, mental health, also the body, physical health. So making sure that we're taking care of our mind and our body is really supported. I mean, during any time it's good, but it's really supported over the course of the next month and 10 days. And that reminds me, because that's been a big challenge for me with Mercury, Mars opposite Neptune, is my sleep schedule has been just horrendous, like the worst it's been all year. And I usually struggle with sleep. So I've really felt that in the last couple of days of like, okay, time to like fix it. Like, enough of suffering and then just like putting off the solutions. Like, no, we're going to fix it. And I think for all of us, whatever sphere of life that may be, this is a great plus where we are now and over the course of the next month and a half, basically. So that's really good to keep in mind. I think two other things. Sorry, it was just. There we go. Okay. Two other things. Adding to what we were talking about before, and then we'll get into Venus retrograde. This kind of snuck up on me. I didn't even realize until the other day when I was feeling it. I'm like, what am I feeling? What is this exactly? And I realized that Sun is opposite Saturn. Sun in Leo, moving into Virgo in the next couple of days, opposite Saturn. And that adds that pressure, that sense of, and again, especially, it can be killer. That's a metaphor. More figuratively, it can be killer. It can be very difficult, so I'm trying to say. To have that transit going on at the same time as Mars and Mercury opposite Neptune, because then it's that sense of like, oh, am I making any progress? And then feeling like, oh, Saturn based, like this kind of Saturn opposition adds a lot of pressure to succeed, pressure to, I think that's a big way to put it. Yeah, pressure to succeed, pressure to have our shit together, pressure to have everything together, and we can really be depressive during these kind of times. So I think that's a big key for today and over the course of the next week, as well as throughout the rest of August and also September. But I think the real crucible is within the next week, and it's all within our head. It's just, am I going to allow my negative thoughts to influence my actions so that I don't even try? And if the answer to that is no, I'm going to go for it anyways. Again, like I was saying, just keep on plugging, keep moving forward, do your best. If other people think it's not good enough, you will keep at it. Time is on your side, as always. Go forward with whatever makes sense, whatever field feels right to you. And hey, this is also a great time to, this is a good, Saturn opposite Sun is a good checkpoint in the year for all of us of, okay, what isn't working? Because, with these kind of retrogrades, that's a really good opportunity as well. Is, sometimes it's repeat until you succeed. But also these kind of energies are like, you know what? This is not worth it. This job isn't worth it. This relationship isn't worth it. This routine isn't worth it. Whatever it might be, right? So I need to let this go, and I need to restock, reprioritize, etc. So again, don't be willing, let go and let God. Be willing to let go of what does not serve you, who does not serve you, where does not serve you, how does not serve you, like your methods, like freaking out about things, overthinking about things. Just, again, that's a big one. Just focus on your why. Focus on like, why are you doing this? Why are you in this relationship? Whatever. And if it's love, if it's that goodness, that good energy, right? Cool. Then these little challenges, obstructions, whatever, trials, they'll come and go, and you'll be stronger and smarter and more capable and more resilient through them, more mature, more wise. But yeah, be willing to let go of anything that is just hampering you and making you feel like this is horrible. Like, why am I doing this? And that brings us to another thing before we get into the Venus retrograde end of this. I always forget to say this too. By the way, I'm always doing readings, so to book a reading with me, info in the description to book a reading. And don't be shy, I love doing readings. I reach for literally all the different energies, all the zodiac energies, all the different MBTI types. I do readings for everyone. I love it. So feel free to book a reading with me in the about section. I am a bit booked for the near future, but reach out to me. We'll set up a time, and then when the right time comes, we'll be able to do your reading. See, this is what I gotta do at the beginning, because now I forget. What was I saying? Right, Mars opposite Neptune and Mercury too. Addiction is a big. Obviously, addiction can happen all year round, but this kind of transit is definitely a trigger point. So if you're working on maintaining your sobriety, be very mindful at this time of exactly what I was saying, as per making sure that you're not giving in to the depressive feelings of, oh, it doesn't even matter, why should I even bother, these kind of things, because that is an illusion. With these kind of energies, it is so easy to just take the easy way out and just give up. But that's not actually the easy way out when it comes to life in general. And I think that's actually a great positive of Saturn opposite Sun is instead of just like losing our conscious awareness and focus and just giving up, and or giving up in terms of obliterating our conscious mind, as per substances and whatnot. Sun and Saturn is a good checkpoint of like, no, you can't do that, or you can't do it that much, because the consequences will hit you pretty quick, which is a blessing in a lot of ways, because it makes sure that we don't go too off the rails. But going off the rails at all is definitely not ideal. So and I say this all without judgment. I have a history of addiction in my past. I've been sober for 7 years now, so and understanding ourselves, I think, is so important. Certainly for me, it was essential to be able to understand how not to give into the addictive tendencies, how to understand why they even exist in the first place, how to heal and how to move forward. So go deeper into what you're feeling, what you're thinking right now, and just love yourself. I mean, this is there's so much more to talk about in relation to this. It's impossible to just like succinctly say, but just love yourself through this kind of time period, or any time period, but especially this kind of time period, and take care of yourself. Don't give in to the illusion that, oh, it doesn't even matter, because it always matters. Our thoughts and our actions always matter. And there's two ways of finding out that that's true, and that's the wonderful way, because we put forth thoughts and actions that actually were productive and positive, and then we reap incredible rewards and blessings that we never would have thought possible. And then there's the horrible way of finding out that statement is true, that our thoughts and our actions matter, always matter, by us not putting forth those positive actions and thoughts, having negative or even neutral, especially negative, and then we find out like, oh fuck, like I really have gone down a downward spiral with this. So again, your thoughts, your actions, they matter. It does not matter if you feel totally great. Just do your best. That's the most important thing. And I think that you'll find that at the very least it's progress. But you'll also probably be surprised by the positivity that you receive in return. One last thing about this. Again, I know this is so long. One last thing is, this is such a great time for us to put our egos to the side. It's a little tricky because we have Sun in Leo and Venus in Leo, and there's beautiful things about having an ego. It's part of the human condition. It's a good thing. But there's a little tug of war here, and I think it'll get a little bit easier when Sun moves into Virgo in a couple days, because that'll help us to chill the ego a bit. But, again, the ego is also warm. It's fire in a good way, as well as, maybe too focused on self. But anyways, my point is this. There's such a wonderful giving feeling out there right now. There's such a generosity, there's such a compassion, I feel, where people are just really struggling to do their best with their own thing, and they're just, you know, as human beings, it's nice to have these kind of time periods, because it's a reminder that we're all human, and that there's always challenges in life, and that's okay. But sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes we need to reach out and be like, you're struggling with something too, let's talk about it. Or you don't even need to talk about it, you just feel it, and you just, you know, you're sending that person love, they're sending you love. It's nice to feel that sense of humanity of, again, we're all struggling. As the Buddha said, life is full of suffering. We're also meant to overcome that suffering, as the Buddha enumerated in Buddhist philosophy. And life is magical and blissful and adventure and wonderful. But we have to free ourselves of that suffering. And part of that is compassion. I mean, compassion is part of all of it. But being compassionate for ourselves, being compassionate with other people, doing our best to help other people if we're in a position to help other people. Also creating boundaries so that we don't cross our own boundaries. And thus be self-destructive. You know, that's a big theme for today. I should have said that really at the beginning of the video, is try not to be self-destructive. Be mindful to avoid being self-destructive. That's such a key thing at this time period and for the near future. Last but not least, Venus is retrograde and it's square Jupiter and Taurus. I think that a lot of people are feeling the financial strain, as always happens when Venus is retrograde, but I think especially with it being square, the Taurus energy, again, the key is just to show up to work, do your best, and just keep at it. If you're having trouble getting that promotion or getting that commission or whatever, it's very natural for these time periods. But again, every thought, every action does matter. So just don't give up, keep at it. And just be mindful of your finances. Don't spend it on silly things. Especially don't spend it on substance abuse or anything like that. Okay, I think that's everything. Infinite love to you, my friends. Namaste. Peace.